And I'd appreciate that you turn off your cell phones as this meeting is being recorded. Ellen, can you please do our roll call?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. Good evening, everyone. Ms. Callan Carson, excuse me. Mr. Carey?
Present.
Mrs. DeRoberts?
Here.
Ms. Hernandez-Williams?
Here.
Mr. Riley?
Here.
Ms. Walters?
Present.
Mr. Weiner?
Here.
Vice Chair, Mr. Lacavoli?
Here.
Chair, Mrs. Granato?
Present.
And Wethersfield High School Student Representative, Ms. Angelica Data.
Here.
All present.
Great, thank you. And Matt Gazaka, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Hopefully he remembers it.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Matt. All right, we do not have student and staff recognition, so we'll go right into the approval of the minutes for our regular Board of Ed meeting on October 8th, 2024. May I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on those minutes?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
On the last page, there's no reflection of the vote that occurred to go into executive session. Although it never occurred, there was a vote. I think it needs to be accurately reflected in our minutes. And continue. On the last page, the adjournment, I actually left the meeting because I didn't know we were adjourning, so I don't think it can be unanimous. I had left the meeting. I was not present for the vote when you adjourned. So.
Okay, so we're going to make a motion to approve them on those changes.
Motion.
Have a motion approved. Okay, a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Good, those minutes are approved. So now, if there's anyone wishing to make a public comment, come on up to the podium and state your name and address. And may I remind you that you have 5 minutes. And also that the board members sitting up here cannot respond to your comments.
You are going to have to time me. First, Jennifer Curry, 162 Straddle Hill. I do want to thank all of you. I cannot understand the time and effort that you put into your roles. And whenever I do reach out via email or a conversation in a meeting or a question, I always get a response. So I do thank all of you for all of your efforts that you put forward. The first thing I want to mention is the elimination of the DARE program for this year's 5th grade class. I did reach out to the people who shared that information. I have been connected to the director of curriculum for math and science, who's overseeing the drug and alcohol lessons. But my biggest concern, because this does seem like it's a done deal, is what's happening going forward. I do have 2 younger children, and I would love to know what's going to happen, since it is an understaffed police department that we've been told is the main issue, and whether that's understaffed total or understaffed with those who can instruct in the DARE program. I'd certainly like to see some information about what's going forward. This 5th grade class has been hit hard, but understand that I think that's a done deal and can move forward for my other children. The other piece that I would like to talk about is the 25-26 and 26-27 school calendars. I was shocked, to say the least, that the December breaks are 2 full weeks. That is not something that historically has happened in public schools, period. I did email some data about what the calendars look like in Wethersfield right before the meeting. And the calendars for 17-18 forward are on the website. So if you look back, this is a huge shift, and I couldn't really understand why. I did reach out and get some information. I went back and watched the 2 meetings where they were discussed. And there was a piece that stood out in that those 2 years graduation would be on a Friday night based on the ability to use day 180 or 181. Understand that Wethersfield historically and traditionally has a graduation on a Friday night, and last year that was a challenge and part of meetings where that was discussed. So if that is the end game, the end game is a Friday night for day 180 and 181, are there other options to get there? Because the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 21st of December, those are huge days to tack on to a vacation. There are families who simply are going to struggle with having those days off added on to a vacation, whether it is families who do not have paid time off, families who have to have in-office work and not work from home, or those of us in education who simply cannot take days already attached to a vacation. So there are other alternatives. There are ways to make long weekends, whether it's looking at a Friday or Monday of Indigenous Peoples Day, looking at the Monday before Election Day, looking at extending Martin Luther King weekend, coordinating with the Cove Carnival and the Keene Foundation and taking that Friday off and enjoying it to celebrate. So there are other ways if the end game is to get to that day, and I don't know that the full 2 weeks in December is the way to do that. The calendar has been approved, but there's also the stipulation that they can be revised. When you look at the days off in terms of Monday through Friday days, it is typically 6, 7, or 8. Both of these two calendars are 10. If it's going to stay, if the committee that put it together and the Board of Ed are going to leave them as is, I am asking that information goes out to families now via Parent Square. I understand the calendars are on the website, but realistically, families are not looking at that, thinking ahead. And they need to know. They need to understand that if they're a person who has to plan their vacation at the beginning of January, they need to plan for those days. And we have Parent Square, and it's a tool. So if the calendars are staying as is and not being looked at, then I ask that that information get disseminated pretty clearly to families.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on. Mr. Emmett, you have some communications for us tonight?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Granado. Good evening, everyone. We have a very, very full agenda this evening. You can see that we have been extraordinarily busy with regard to a lot of curriculum work. In addition to that, this evening you will hear an update on the district improvement plan. You will also see a presentation on the annual update on the strategic plan, which encompasses our data presentation. And we also have this evening our friends from the Wethersfield High School that will provide us with an update on the school improvement plan. So we've got a lot on the agenda tonight, so if we could get right into it, let's go. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, as we just mentioned, we do have a lot of action items, almost A through Z, but these are the new and exciting courses for our 21st century learners. We're very excited about them. So we'll get started right in. So Marjorie, would you read recommended motion A for us?
I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve the Wethersfield High School curriculum, geometry honors.
Second?
Okay, we're not going to have a lot of discussion on all of these, if that's okay. So we'll go right to all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion A passes. Marjorie, motion B?
I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve Wethersfield High School curriculum, geometry level 1.
Second?
Okay, we'll go right into voting. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion B passes. Marjorie, motion C.
I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve Wethersfield High School curriculum, geometry, and data reasoning.
Second?
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion C passes. Jim, would you read motion D for us?
Move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve WHS Curriculum 215 Education in Multicultural Society.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion D passes. Jim, would you do motion E for us?
I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve the WHS course name change from CCSU ECE EDF 215 Education in Multicultural Society to CCSU CEEDF 215 Education in a Multicultural Society.
Second.
Okay,
It didn't seem like anything changed.
Is that motion correct, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Looks like it's the same.
Looks identical.
One's
No.
ECE,
No.
one's
motion,
Oh, one's ECE and one's
different.
EDF.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, okay.
CCSU,
Apologies.
CE, EDF.
Okay.
That's a big change.
Okay. Sorry, the
C
peanut
is,
gallery down here will stop talking.
okay, we all set? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Objections? Any abstentions? Motion E passes. And Jim, would you do motion F for us?
Yes, this one looks a lot simpler. Move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve WHS curriculum English 10.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Objections? Abstentions? Motion F passes. Chuck, would you do motion G for us?
Yes, I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve the Wethersfield High School curriculum, American Literature, Cultural Change.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Objections? Abstentions? That motion passes. Continue, Chuck?
Yes, I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve the Wethersfield High School curriculum, American Literature, Power and Perspective.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Objections? Abstentions? Motion H passes. And Chuck?
I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve the Wethersfield High School curriculum, English 9 with a lab.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Objections? Any abstentions? That motion passes. On to Matt. Would you do J?
I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve Wethersfield High School course name change from Transportation and Alternative Energy to Transportation Engineering.
Second?
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Objections? Any abstentions? That motion passes. Matt, on to K.
I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve Wethersfield High School curriculum Transportation Engineering.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Objections? Any abstentions? That motion passes. And next one, Matt?
I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve Wethersfield High School curriculum Introduction to Music Theory.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Objections? Any abstentions? That motion passes. Janice, would you do motion M for us?
I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve of Wethersfield High School Curriculum Concert Orchestra.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Objections? Abstentions? That motion passes. On to N, Janice.
I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve the Wethersfield High School Curriculum Bella Voce.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Objections? Abstentions? That motion passes. And Janice?
I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve of the SDMS and Wethersfield High School curriculum for ESL 1.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Objections? Any abstentions? That motion passes. John, would you do motion P here for us?
Sure. Recommend that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve Silas Deane Middle School and Wethersfield High School curriculum ESL 2.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Objections? Any abstentions? That motion passes. Q, John?
Recommend the Wethersfield Board of Education approve the Silas Deane Middle School and Wethersfield High School curriculum Spanish 1.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Objections? Abstentions? That motion passes. And John?
Recommend the Wethersfield Board of Education approve of Wethersfield High School curriculum Spanish 2.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Objections? Any abstentions? That motion passes. Okay, on to, is that an S? Yes, Christina?
Yeah, I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approves Wethersfield High School Curriculum Biology Level 1.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Objections? Abstentions? That motion passes. T, Christina?
I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approves Wethersfield High School Curriculum Art Foundations.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Objections? Any abstentions? That motion passes. And you, Christina?
Move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approves Wethersfield High School Curriculum Drawing.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Objections? Abstentions? That motion passes. And on to Liz for V.
I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve the WHS curriculum for current issues.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Objections? Any abstentions? That motion passes. W.
I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve the WHS curriculum for AP European History.
Second.
Do I have a second? Okay, so I'm sorry. All in favor? Aye. Objections? Any abstentions? Next motion, Liz.
I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education adopt the math program for grades 7 through 12, the Agile Mind.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Wait a minute.
Objections?
Hold on, hold up. As this is an adoption, this is a little different. This is an adoption of a math program.
Okay.
I'd like to have some of our staff members from Wethersfield High School come up and provide you with a little bit of background.
So we will have a discussion.
On this one,
Thank
yes,
you.
this is an adoption.
We were moving right along there. I'm glad you stopped us.
You were in the group.
We really were.
All right, good evening. My name is Christina Slayton. I'm the Secondary Instructional Supervisor, and we are so happy to talk to you this evening about our recommendation for Agile Mind as our secondary math program. Tonight, you'll hear about two teams of 21 educators from Silas, Deane Middle School and Wethersfield High School who have been working for almost a year now to identify a secondary math resource and develop a plan for its implementation. You'll hear how we came to the decision to recommend Agile Mind, as well as how we foresee implementing this resource moving forward. And I'd like to turn it over to Wethersfield High School Math Department Liaison Mike Miller to talk a little bit more.
Good evening. So I'm Michael Miller, the Math Department Liaison at the high school. So I'm going to talk to you about the first several slides on here. The purpose of why we went to look for Agile Mind. We have a committee of secondary teachers and administrators was charged with recommending the secondary math program. We wanted to improve student math achievement. We wanted to increase conceptual understanding and application, and we wanted to strengthen the alignment and standards and standardization of assessments. And our true purpose also was to ensure vertical alignment in our 7-12 program. As you can see here, we have quite a few people that were involved in the adoption of this curriculum over the past year or so. There's been a core group of about 5 or 6 of us that met every single couple months, and then quite a few of us came in over in the summertime, and we all sat and we organized ourselves to try to have a conversation about how are we going to implement this and how are we going to be able to bring it into fruition up here at the high school. So part of the reason why we looked into changing our math program 7-12 is we're looking at some of our test scores. So there are things we need to improve. And so one of the things we were hoping we can be able to prove some of these test scores is by looking at Agile Mind. Now, the vision, we believe again that the high quality math instruction fosters students' deep, flexible understanding of numbers, data, and space, and how they work through hands-on learning experiences and math discourse. It challenges students to engage in authentic learning experiences that allow them to make sense and solve contextual problems, make conjectures, develop math arguments, revise their thinking, and arguments based on feedback from their peers and their teacher, and considering themselves to be mathematicians. Now, that, of course, vision we always have, but what's interesting about Agile Mind and what kind of brought us to that is that it's going to switch how we're going to be teaching our math curriculum throughout the year.
Hi, everyone. So choosing a math program is something that is near and dear to my heart. Before I was an assistant principal, I was actually a math teacher and then a math coach in another city in the state. I won't say the name. But the selection process here was a very special experience because it really was chosen by the whole team. It wasn't something that was forced upon teachers. It was a process that took a long time, but it was good that it took a long time because it really meant that we were looking at the programs and figuring out what would meet the needs of our students and our staff best. So our committee involved middle school and high school educators, math teachers from each course. So we chose a teacher at the high school that taught Algebra 1, one that taught geometry, and one that taught Algebra 2. We had an EL teacher join us. We had special education teachers, math interventionists at both levels, and administrators. We really wanted to make sure that everybody who was going to be part of this process really had a voice in the decision. We decided when we first started that we were going to have a program chosen by January. That didn't happen because we decided to really look at those programs more in depth. So we started in December. We had over 16 hours of meetings. We started by creating that vision that Mike just shared with you. So we looked at the vision for elementary mathematics and we adopted that for the high school as well. We evaluated 4 different math programs using the IMAT rubric that aligned to illustrative mathematics, which is our K-6 program. From those 4 programs, we decided to meet with vendors. We narrowed it down to 3 of those programs to explore that further. And then finally, we narrowed it down to 2 programs, and we did a side-by-side comparison of each text in order to figure out which one met the best needs of our students and our teachers here. So it was a really great process, and we're super excited. I'm going to introduce Jen Kumnick, who's going to talk to you about the strengths of Agile and why it beat all those other programs.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jen Kumnick. I'm currently a math teacher at Wethersfield High School. In the previous 3 years, I was the math interventionist, so I served on this committee as math interventionist. So Agile Mind has a lot of strengths. Our first big strength, I think, is that it aligns with the K-6 curriculum, but it is implementable, doable for the teachers at the math department. It's got a balanced approach of procedural problem solving and application-based problems, contextualized problems, so problems that introduce the world into our classrooms and show how math applies to the world. Low floor, high ceiling tasks, so difficult things but accessible to all students. There's an emphasis on building common evidence-based strategies, the integration of Desmos and the connections to the digital SAT, which will be important for our students. Lots of practice problems and assessment banks with differentiation involved in that, and clear pathways to our upper level mathematics, pre-calculus, calculus, statistics. It also has a research-based design, so it was created at the Charles A. Dana Center at the University of Texas. And it also goes hand in hand with the building thinking strategies, which is also a research-based instructional method that we are working on implementing in the math department this year. And lastly, it has extensive tailored professional support. So the math teachers at the middle school and high school will have lots of professional support while we're trying to plan and implement as we roll out this program.
Okay. So my name's Julie Friel. I'm a special education department liaison, and I wanted to just highlight a couple different aspects of Agile Mind when it comes to meeting the needs of our students with IEPs. And the back end of the system, teachers can modify work before they download it and save it as a PDF, so that regardless of what assignment the student is receiving in the classroom, it's more uniform and it's not evident who is receiving those modifications. It's also able to provide a couple different ways to tackle a concept, which is exactly what 2 co-teachers might do in the same room together.
There's lots of different resources for problem solving and differentiation, like I mentioned earlier, many assessment banks so that we can tailor to students who need more help or more challenging problems. Lots of emphasis on building academic vocabulary and different ways we can do that, and spiral practice, so review, as we move forward. So review on different concepts as we move forward. And I think Mr.
So as you saw earlier, a team of 14 middle and high school educators came together this summer to form our implementation planning team, drafting proposals for course implementation timeline as well as professional learning. For the current school year, the team plans a soft rollout that would implement 1 to 2 units in the second semester. Grade 7 math, grade 8 math, Algebra 1 levels 1 and 2, Geometry and Data Reasoning, and Algebra 2 level 1 would all be part of the soft rollout for this year. After this year, the team opted for a staggered implementation plan for all courses from grade 7 math through Algebra 2. We will introduce additional courses each year over the next 3 years with full implementation of all courses through Algebra 2 in 2027-2028. We believe that this staggered implementation will allow us to most effectively prepare for the curricular and instructional shifts that we expect to make in each course as we adopt Agile Mind.
I am Scott Boisine, the assistant principal at Silas Deane Middle School. One of the draws of Agile Mind for us was the embedded professional learning that will be provided as part of our partnership with Agile. This year, we will engage in professional learning around conceptual understanding, productive struggle, and differentiation and scaffolding in math. In future years, we plan for learning in areas such as reasoning, problem solving, and math discourse. We also look forward to working with Agile Mind facilitators for on-site coaching throughout our implementation. We believe this ongoing learning for teachers is a critical component of our adoption of the Agile Mind resource.
And finally, here you can see the anticipated cost of each phase of our implementation plan through the next 6 years. The cost integrates the cost of the program itself as well as professional learning and reflects a 20% savings through a 6-year agreement with Agile Mind. This year's soft rollout is funded through the Title IV grant, but we will require funding through the district budget for continued implementation of the Agile Mind resource. And at this point, we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Anybody with any questions?
I don't have any questions. Comment. I don't have any questions, but I just have a comment. I just want to thank the committee and the implementation team for their work on this. We truly appreciate it. It looked like a lot went into this, a lot of effort, a lot of collaboration, and we're grateful for that. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, all of you. Also, I'm thrilled that it goes middle school right to high school. We've always tried to have that connection. Anyone else?
Yes.
And I know that we had discussed in committee too how this particular program opens up pre-calculus, calculus, and statistics more so than other programs and gives some equity for that opportunity to reach that. I thought that was, all of it is very impressive, but I thought that was really one of the standout points.
During the committee meeting, a couple of things that I thought were really positive that I just wanted to share is that, Bobby, going on what you had mentioned too, is because this was a full department effort, and you had mentioned the vision really starting with the illustrative math that's in K6, and so this truly is a math program that goes all the way through, which to me is very exciting, especially for kids that are learning math a particular way. This will be great to have them build on that and not have the challenge be a new program more than it is the learning. That makes sense. I also liked hearing that there are a lot of assessment banks, and I think that's what you were referring to when you mentioned, I think Julie had mentioned the digital banks or the digital PDFs where you could tailor it and then, download it from that. And I believe in those assessment banks, I think there was something about an English language, like an EL component as well, not as many as Parent Square, but there's, 8 languages, I think, that it goes down to, which I thought was fantastic. And also the special ed component that the assessment banks provides practice banks so that kids can keep learning and they don't get stuck. I really like that aspect as well. So some positive thoughts I just wanted to share from the meeting.
Thanks for all your hard work on this. I just had questions on some terms I'm not familiar with. What is an IMET rubric and what does Desmos mean? Thank you.
The IMET rubric is a tool that we use to evaluate instructional materials. So it walks us through several categories to help us compare different resources. So looking at the equity, for example, like is it accessible to all students? That would be one category that we would look at through this rubric. And then your second question was about the Desmos calculator. So that's a digital calculator that's built into platforms like the digital SAT. So it's great to expose students to it early on.
Thank you.
Okay, yes.
Yes, I just wanted to point out, just so the rest of the board is aware, we discussed at the committee about the staggered approach and whether they were doing it for budget reasons or was that the approach they want. And Mr. Miller was very articulate when he talked about that's the approach they want to use, is stagger it out so we don't overdo all the math teachers. So I was concerned they were worried about our budget, and they're not, so that's great. And that's the approach those teachers want, because I was all for if they wanted it all, let's put it all in the budget. But Mr. Miller was articulate and told us that the stagger approach was very thought-out approach that they decided to take. So I fully support that.
Yep, agree, yep. Okay, so we've had our discussion, so let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? That motion passes. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and we're all the way down to Y. Liz, you're going to read the last one, a recommended motion Y for us.
Move that the Wethersfield Board of Education adopt, oh gosh, I'm so sorry, wrong one.
Take your time.
My apologies. Yes, no, actually I have it right here. I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education set the 2025 graduation date for Tuesday, June 10th of 2025.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, go right into it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? That motion passes, and we did it, everyone. We got through it all. Thank you very much. We do have some very important presentations tonight, very informative ones. First one is the update on our strategic plan. Sally, would you come up for us? Oh, you too, Michael? Okay. Oh, this is like nightly reading.
There's a lot here.
You don't have all these charts here.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not going to keep him on the spot, so I'm going to start talking while he's working, because he's going to figure it out what you know. So good evening, I'm Sally DeStoli, and I'm excited to be up here with Mr. Emmett this evening to talk about our new annual update on the strategic plan. It was just almost a year ago that we were in front of you to approve the new strategic plan 2023 to 2029 last November. So with that new strategic plan, it is a North Star, or really the direction and vision for our district for the next several years. And so when we thought about our annual achievement report that usually happens around this time of year, we really thought of reimagining that achievement report. We're now at a very different time. Historically, achievement data was only available if we shared it from the district. So we now live in the time with a website called EdSite. And EdSite provides a lot of data across all districts and educational data available for the public. And so no longer do we have to really bring that data forward because you can find, and members of the public can find that data on the website. And in fact, you kind of get down a rabbit hole. You look at this graph and that graph, and there's so much data. We thought, why recreate what's on the website for you already? So instead, we're really imagining our annual update on our strategic plan that is much broader than our original update on our achievement data that we've previously had with, if you remember, those like 75 graphs. Remember that presentation? So we really wanted to reimagine it and make it reflect the broader measures found in our strategic plan. So in the strategic plan that you've approved, there's a much broader set of measurements of how we want to define our success as a district. So we use the outline of the strategic plan and those broader measurements to really bring to you a new summary of the work that we've done around achievement, equity, and empathy in front of you tonight. We really want to provide that holistic view of our district's accomplishments and student outcomes. We wanted to recognize and celebrate the accomplishments of our staff and our students. And we also want to increase the number of staff that contributed information to the annual update. And you'll see that all schools are represented in various ways in the update. So, as you know, we are really guided by several different documents within Wethersfield. We are guided by our vision of the graduate. We want to ensure that all students walk across that stage, are communicators, problem solvers, and collaborators. We're guided by our 3 priorities of empathy, achievement, and equity. In addition, we have 3 goals in our strategic plan around student achievement, civic and family engagement, management, operations, and finance. So you'll see an integration of those priorities and those goals in this report, and a lot of things to celebrate. So I'm going to turn over to Mr. Emmett to talk a little bit more.
Thank you, Mrs. DeStoli. Good evening again, everyone. It's interesting, as I stand up here, I have about 155 days left in my superintendency. And one of my roles here is to make sure that I work to transition this district into the next leader. And I think it's critically important to be able to have a framework to be able to move forward, to support you in selecting the next leader. One of the things I want to talk about first and foremost within the presentation of this, this report is all of these students are our students. There aren't any canned pictures here. There's nothing, no memes, nothing from the internet. This is all authentic. These are our Wethersfield students. They are diverse, they are unique, and they are truly, truly special. Again, my apologies for the presentation. It's not as clean as it needs to be. But again, you can see the daily life of what goes on in the Wethersfield Public Schools, from arts, athletics, academics, collaboration. And as I can tell you, day 33 for me thus far, I've been out to schools 85 times already this year. Most recently at Silas, Deane today for instructional rounds, where what did I see in classrooms? I saw kids collaborating. I saw kids working harder than teachers. That's exactly what we want to see. Exactly what we want to see. Again, as Sally mentioned, we have our 3 pillars: our student achievement, our civic and family engagement. We have management, operations, and finance.
Who's us?
There's the future right there. It's why you're doing what you're doing. It's why you have all these late nights. Also, I want to make sure that I'm pointing out here that we have the QR code. So this QR code gives you the opportunity to get additional information. This is posted up on our website. It will be out and about. It is posted out at the Stillman Building now. This will go out to schools. You all have a copy as well. So we want this to be a living and breathing document that we share with the community so we can talk about everything we're doing. And again, as Sally mentioned, the achievement, the equity, the empathy, those 3 pillars that we have worked on over the past several years. We also mentioned the vision of the graduate. All of the work that you approved tonight, the leadership of our teaching staff, and the work that has gone on in our buildings with regard to upgrading, updating our curriculum, is really keyed into the vision of the graduate. And again, our strategic plan, which is in place now through 2029. Let's try and bring this up. There you go. Okay, we've got a variety of data points in here just to show you in terms of student enrollment. We've talked about this before. We've talked about the fact that we are seeing an increasing level of diversity within the scope of our district. Again, I do want to get into the celebrations as well. You can see there, that is convocation. Mr. Craig leading the charge. This is convocation from last year. Again, this is a synopsis of 23-24. Again, we've expanded our LEAP K through 6 programming. We have somewhere in the range of about 45 students in our ABA and LEAP program. Those are 45 students that we're able to keep in district and not have to send to an out-of-district placement. You saw tonight the approval, and you adopted a math program for 7 through 12 that dovetails very nicely with illustrative math in K-6, which is implemented. This is year 2 for that now. You'll also see a photo of our Wethersfield High School students participating in a capstone experience. Some of you had the opportunity last year to actually sit in on those capstone presentations. It's a powerful tool to help our students be prepared for the future. Certainly want to highlight the wellness centers. The wellness centers grant-funded positions we currently have at Wethersfield High School and Silas Deane Middle School. I will tell you in my ongoing conversations with TSKP, with our elementary building plan, one of the things that they've heard loud and clear from parents in the community is, can we replicate the wellness centers down at the elementary level? So that is a potential design. Obviously, we will have the challenge of budgeting for it, but that's a potential design. It started at Wethersfield High School with just the leadership at the high school, and you can see how it's expanded, and it is good for kids. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about our summer programming. We have a tremendous amount of summer programming. I mentioned at the last board meeting we will be partnering with the Y this summer for the Bell Scholars Program, so we'll have an additional 34 seats available for our students. In addition, we hope to be able to replicate the class program again. Our benefactors from the Keene Foundation last summer were very helpful in providing grant funding so we could continue that program, which has been extraordinarily meaningful. Again, I also want to talk about the trauma-informed and restorative practices. That is a cornerstone of what we are doing in the Wethersfield Public Schools. Our trauma-informed program over at Hanmer has seen tremendous success. Today I had the opportunity to see a former, and I mentioned former, student in the STRIVE program successfully participating in a mainstream environment at the middle school. It's what it's all about. It's all about providing a resource for a student and having that student succeed. Again, talking about the civic and family engagement, we recognize the increasing diversity in our community. One of the things we've worked very hard to do is to attract teachers of color And one of the things that we've been able to do is to bring about both a BIPOC affinity group for staff and a BIPOC affinity group for parents, which has been hugely successful in navigating the challenges that we face in the current society. In terms of management, operations, and finance, again, we work very hard to make sure that we are maintaining a safe environment. We are making sure that we have a secure environment, and we are staffing our buildings with the necessary resources to maintain that level of safety and security. Again, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Mrs. DeStoli's efforts in looking for grant funding. As I mentioned, the mental health grants, we were fortunate to get two. Both of those came from the hard work and the collaborative efforts of Sally, as well as the town of Wethersfield, to make sure that we got that funding. That is huge, very, very important. And again, just some of the staff awards. Again, we don't often talk about this, but we've got a lot of recognition that we've had from our staff members. If you take a look and see, Jennifer Nicholas, Michael Bowles, Andrea Haas, I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Mark Danaher was just Ben Sikora. So, and that just, we found out this week. So we've got a lot of accolades here for our staff members. Our staff members are really committed to the district and do a great job here. You've seen in the past our student artists. They were here to present to you last spring. Our Teacher of the Year, Paraeducator of the Year, again, this is for 23-24. I can tell you Ms. Caravella currently is teaching over at Silas Deane Middle School, and the latest number of orchestra members was at about 117. So she's doing great work over there. Again, I can talk about Wethersfield High School, our DECA program. You've seen our DECA team in action. Athletics, we continue to excel within the scope of athletics across the board. And again, I'm not going to go page by page here, just in the essence of time, because I know we have a couple of other presentations. But we have school highlights for each school. Each school, while is part of the overall district, each school has its own unique personality, its own unique culture, and its own unique needs. But our teams work collaboratively to ensure adhesion to the school improvement plans, the district improvement plan, and the strategic plan. And again, one of the things I'm extraordinarily proud of, I certainly want to highlight, is the reduction in the chronic absenteeism. We made significant gains with regard to reducing our chronic absenteeism across the board. So very proud of the efforts, and that was a real team effort from teachers, from principals, social workers, folks on the town side providing support, outside support from ESS when we had that contract. So we've done a great job in engaging our kids and getting them back into school. Again, I've got some Smarter Balanced literacy results here, math results for ELA and math for Smarter Balanced. And I'm not going to stand here and say that I'm completely satisfied with these. I think you heard Mr. Miller talk about it with regard to the math scores as well. So one of the things you do is you adjust your curriculum, and that's what you've seen coming before you. There is still work to be done, but I think we're making a strong effort in moving forward. NGS assessment, you heard that last spring. We had some very, very strong response and improvement in the NGSS, both in grades 5, grades 8, and grades 11. So very pleased with that result. And again, we did see an increase in SAT. I also mentioned last year that with regard to the number of AP tests that we gave, I have to give a shout out to Mrs. Hassler. She was instrumental in dramatically increasing the number of students that took AP tests. And that's huge. That's exactly what we want to see. We want to see kids having that rigorous experience. We want to have them have that experience. So very pleased to see that number go up. Go ahead, clap it up. Absolutely. And again, advanced placement. Exactly. And again, even tonight, some of the curriculum that you've approved, additional ECE or changes to ECE courses, we're giving kids that early college experience so that they can get out of high school and already have some credits under their belt. And as someone who's still making college tuition payments, I can tell you that helps. English language learners, you did have a presentation before you at the Student Programs and Services Committee meeting. We have talked long and loud about the fact that our English language learner population continues to grow. It is right around 400 students now. When I came aboard in 2008, it was about 100. So it's gone up pretty dramatically over the years. And again, the civic and family engagement, we're very, very proud of all of the events that we have in this town. From Empty Bowls, that was a project our art teachers and students worked on over at Wethersfield High School last year. The Kid Mayor and Kid Chair essay contests, again, Mrs. Granado and Mayor Lesser were instrumental in identifying those students. And I think the culmination was to be able to have them be recognized on the House chamber floor up at the State Legislative Office building. We had a large number of participants in the Kid Governor campaign. You recently saw, a couple weeks ago, you saw some pictures in my Friday update of the annual Wethersfield Football Tackle Literacy Program. I'm very proud to see that that program has become a yearly event. It is, I can't tell who it's most beneficial for the students at the elementary level or the football players who go back and visit their schools or visit with the kids. The number of high schoolers that I heard, Mr. Emmett, they wanted my autograph. Or they asked when we were playing the Patriots. Very, very good questions. But it's all about the connection. And again, a huge thank you to the football boosters. That's our parent groups along with our coaches that are helping to make that happen. Again, Webb Elementary School recognized Autism Awareness Month, a huge, huge resource for parents and a very important part of our school community at Webb. We have opportunities for parents to engage in the school community. I could not be prouder of the arts participation in this town. I have always been a staunch supporter while I was an athlete, and I'm big into athletics. I have to tell you, if we don't have a strong arts program from theater to art and music, we are selling our kids short. And I am extraordinarily proud of the opportunities our kids have, and to go into the middle school or to go to the high school, to go to an elementary classroom and see these kids already practicing and excited to practice. That is what it's all about. Again, I had mentioned earlier the BIPOC, we have a staff affinity group as well as a parent affinity group. We have STEM nights. We've had a STEM night at Charles Wright. We had a huge STEM night at Hanmer. We have a cultural night at Highcrest, the international night. It was so well attended, you couldn't find a place to park. I've never seen so many people at an event. And again, I mentioned earlier our students at Wethersfield High School with the Capstone Project. The annual art show. Cabaret for a Cause. One of the things I'm proud of here in Wethersfield, the Cabaret for a Cause didn't come from me, didn't come from the staff. That's all students. And that has been an annual event. It is led by students, it's organized by students, it's carried out by students. That's what I love, is the student voice. One of the things you've seen over the past 2 years, you have the clap out ceremony where our graduates will go through back to their elementary schools. Another didn't come from me. It was student-centered. And we've been able to foster it to become part of the fabric of what we do. Again, you see the Hanmer's Got Talent. And again, I'm very proud of this as well. With the Parent Square engagement data, 99.7% engagement with parents. And what I love about Parent Square, and Parent Square came to me through Jeff Telke, who was doing some research on programs that would better suit our parents that speak a different language. We did this about 4 years ago. We had a multidisciplinary team, teachers, administrators, and we piloted this, and this has been huge. To be able to send out a communication that speaks in the language of the parent is tremendous. So we've had tremendous success here with Parent Square, to say the least. Again, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about our WEC program. WEC will be hosting their annual meeting on the 19th of November. Our focus is going to be, again, on cell phones and the anxious generation, which is a continuation of our book study from the summer. And again, we have human resources here. We did submit to the state of Connecticut a plan to increase educator diversity. At the current time, we are not participating in the teacher residency program, although I do have a member of our staff that did go through that program. It's something we look to do in the future. Again, I have a budget snapshot. Please be aware that this budget snapshot is last year's budget, not the current budget. And then I've provided you with just some finance comparisons. I continue to highlight this slide. We talk about it at budget season every year. Our per pupil expenditure compared to those other towns in our reference group continues to drop. And again, number of students per certified teacher. I'd like to see that number come down a little bit. And number of students per administrator. I'd like to see that number come down a little bit as well. Again, I have here just some updates with regard to facilities. Please be aware of the fact that we are in progress on a long-range plan for the elementary schools. We're working with the Advisory Building Committee on that project. With regard to safety and security, Mr. Barabalt, who sits with us this evening, has done district-wide ALICE training. Mr. Barabalt and I recently participated in an FBI training on recognizing threat assessments and hoaxes and bomb threats. With informational technology and cybersecurity, you've seen in my Friday updates, we get barraged on a daily basis with attempted intrusions into our system, as well as phishing attempts on our email system. One of the things that we undertook late this summer was the two-factor authentication. We've been able to successfully put that in place across the entire district, which makes it much more secure. Okay? And again, at this point in time, a lot of information there in front of you. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I just want to comment, it's beautifully done. This is...
Thank you.
Love the information.
Thank you. And again, that QR code will take
Yeah.
you for, it takes you for additional information.
Right.
So this is really just a snapshot. And I think about this when I attend the annual State of the Town breakfast. This is a great document to be able to share
Yeah.
with members of the business community.
Mhm. Any comments, anyone?
I'll comment. So I love this document. It's a beautiful thing. And it's great because it just puts everything into context. It's like all these little puzzle pieces that were always thrown, words, acronyms, whatever. And I feel like it's just it's great to see it all
Yeah.
in one
Yes.
document. It's very nice. And
Thank
then
you.
also to be able to kind of explain to other people if we are trying to talk to town council members or other people, like what's the snapshot currently and how does it all fit together, right? It's great. I also wanted to say just a few things about the high school and how there's just been so many heavy lifts over the last few years, whether it was capstone or expanding the ECE and the AP classes and just all this curriculum. Just kudos to all of you. It's just amazing what you've all have done as a team, and it's amazing how much work you've all done. And I also like the there's certain gaps. Obviously, not last year's 9th grade. Lots of gaps, issues with attendance. I remember that was one of the things that we kept hearing, and obviously that could be a reason why there's some gaps there. But I like also seeing how there's labs now, like in addition to like just bridges to some of these kids, just to see how maybe they can come over and get more help or get more guidance, and not just take the standard class and let them keep going. Like, just let them, like there's definitely, I don't know, like a recipe there to maybe get some kids out and to do different levels and maybe raise their understanding of math, or let them be more confident and get them out of, maybe get them to a higher level, or out of, remedial. So I'd love seeing that. And what else? I don't think I had any questions.
Thank you, Marjorie.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I had just one comment. Thanks for this report. It's really informational. I appreciate it. And I think as far as the facilities condition, I thought I heard last night at the council meeting that number is 60 million, up from 50 million.
Would not be terribly surprised at all.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
I just have to comment on the page that says our per pupil expenditure in our DIRG. Every time I see this graph or any graph like it, it's very upsetting.
Well, we'll talk more about it at budget time. That's for sure. It's for sure. So, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you, Sally. It was very well done. I like that. Okay, once we switch here, we'll move on to our second presentation tonight, which is on the district improvement plan.
See if this will open full screen. One second.
Yeah, I'm gonna read it.
So good evening again. I'm going to build off our last topic of building on our path towards a future of excellence, and just thank the board for all your support, and a special shout out to all the administrators and folks that provided pictures, but a special shout out to Don Campbell and Dr. Christine Slayton, instructional supervisors, for the hours that they also put into developing that report. So I'm going to move into the district improvement plan. So we kind of have a great time to reimagine the work we do. As you know, we talked about the recent approval of a new strategic plan. We also had the need to integrate our strategic planning and continuous improvement process with the new educator professional learning growth and evaluation plan. And we also wanted to further align our work with the vision of the graduate. So we've reimagined our district and school improvement plan. So I'm going to take a few minutes just kind of walk you through the structure and the format. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the actions, because this evening you have the Wethersfield High School team here to talk about their actions, and over the next few meetings you'll be hearing from the other schools. So I'm really going to talk a little bit about why it's designed and how it's designed that way to really build upon that continuous improvement process. So you'll see that the district and all school improvement plans start with a kind of a quick data snapshot. So you have a context of some historical data for people that may not be familiar with the schools as much as you are. It gives them a little bit of a quick data context. Please know that some of the data provided by the state comes out at different times, so there are a few data points we'll have to add later they're always a few months behind. But it'll give you a little snapshot, this case of the district, but also the individual schools that you'll hear from in the future. We then go on to our three priorities that we've talked about already this evening, empathy, achievement, and equity. So you'll see that each priority has a theory of action. And those theory of actions really identify key factors that improve student outcomes. And they identify links or causal relationships between the actions that adults take and the outcomes for students or our community. So you'll see them written as, if we do this, then this will happen. So you'll see that we have a district theory of action for empathy, achievement, and equity that you've seen in the past. But in our school and district improvement plans, we've kind of modeled that pattern. So if you look at the number 1, it says, what are the meaningful changes in educator practice or systems that are a focus of this priority? And number 2 is, what are the outcomes or impacts for students as a result of the change in adult actions? So what we find is sometimes, as Marjorie said, there's like these puzzle pieces, and not everybody can see how they fit together. So a theory of action really helps people see that why we are doing the work we're doing and how it positively impacts student outcomes and family outcomes, or changes systems to improve the efficiency of an organization. You'll see that in all the school and district improvement plans, there's a district section, there's a pre-K 6 section, and there's also a 7 through 12 section. In some cases, those district actions are across all schools. In some cases, they're more of a systems piece across the district. Those actions that you see on page 4 are in all the school improvement plans. So it allows for us to have cohesion and alignment across all schools. And you'll see that individual school actions will vary from school to school depending upon their data, their needs assessment, and their feedback from their leadership team. So if you look on page 5, you'll see, again, the pre-K 6 section, the 7 through 12 for this priority, and then the action steps. In this district improvement plan, those are district action steps. You'll be hearing more about some of the highlights tonight from Wethersfield High School. And then on the next page, you'll see number 4 are outcomes. Again, some of the broader measures of outcomes that we find in our strategic plan that we reported on this evening, so that the actions we take, the improvements of student outcomes, these are the outcomes we're looking to improve over that work. Each school or district improvement plan has either 4 or 5 goals. We mentioned empathy, achievement, and equity. We also have one for management, operations, and finance. It's important that every staff member, every department sees their role connected to our district and school improvement plans. Everybody has an important part in our organization for continuous improvement. We also have some schools will have an attendance goal, and the district has an attendance goal. Well, Mr. Emmett shared we've made incredible progress over the last 2 years. Our goal is to have all schools under 5% of students chronically absent. It's a rigorous goal. It's a state target. We have several schools that are at that point, so they won't have an attendance goal. But any school that's over 5% will also have an attendance goal. And so you will see all the plans organized similarly. And really what we want to highlight for you over the next few meetings, really action steps that we're taking. What are the adult action steps and what are the impacts on student performance and outcomes? Tied into our continuous improvement model. Much of the work is not brand new. It builds upon year after year, right? There'll be threads to last year, but also you'll see some new work that we're leading forward in the future to improve outcomes for students. Any questions about our district improvement plan and really our short-term planning that's aligned with our strategic plan, which is more of a long-term planning document?
I do have a question. So with all of the goals that are laid out with the outcomes, is there any sort of like a check-in, or like how do you know if you're progressing towards the successful outcomes? And I'm not looking for, like, I'm assuming you don't have to like write everything down, but like, are there discussions? Are there, how is that playing out?
Yeah, so there's ongoing check-ins. With the educator evaluation system, administrators and teachers have all connected their action research to one of these areas within this plan. So as we're all having conversations reflecting upon our own professional growth and development, it also is furthering this work. There's also check-ins with schools as we look at data. We have some different data reviews at administrative team. So there's different processes for different kind of actions and items in here. at different times.
When you collect the data, knowing that some of it is more of the softer skills, the discussions, but any of the data that's collected, is that stored and, related back to priority 1, section 1.2? How is that put together?
So we will end up with another end of year review like we just shared. Because a lot of our data points integrate with this, a lot of our actions integrate to improving achievement scores, right? So if you look at the theory of actions, our empathy work, our achievement work, and our equity work all work to improve student outcomes. And so it's hard to really, sometimes in business you can tease out these really short indicators that are directly related. Well, our indicators really kind of mesh together and are not as directly aligned. So you'll see the indicators, but I'm guessing that probably not the tight indicators that you're envisioning, but we look at our data over time. The other thing in education is sometimes it's not a short-term, 2 months, 3 months change. With a new curriculum program, it takes several years to often see great change. And so while we're always excited first year for change, it's really over time where we'll see the lasting change. So we also consider that when looking at our data.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question, just real quick, because I don't know, we don't want to belabor this, but how does one get a seal of biliteracy?
Yeah, a seal of biliteracy. Actually, and some of our students are triliterate. So they are, they will either take an assessment or they have a transcript that shows proficiency in another language. So for example, a student from Albania may come over as a junior that has proficiency in their language and would demonstrate proficiency in English by earning credits through English or different ways that we assess their English proficiency. And then on the other hand, our students that are learning another world language will take a different assessment, an Apple assessment or other assessments to measure their proficiency.
So does a teacher initiate all this as the students are there in the high school, or?
Yep, our English language learner coordinator and our world language department works with our students to survey students, to assess students. It's actually a national program, and it's part of Connecticut now. It's also on their transcript and soon to be on their diploma also.
Right. I actually have to give that assessment at my school, but it's a level 5, so it's mid-proficiency level in reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So the students that come in like a middle school, they're at a beginner level, and at the high school level, they would be at like a mid-proficiency level. And the assistant principal pushing the AP exam is nice because they can get 3 credits of AP, 3 credits of ECE. The seal of biliteracy is a global seal, and then work, careers, trade schools see that as a proficiency that they can speak at that level. And so it's really great that Wethersfield's numbers have gone up quite a bit. So we can definitely further talk about it, but thank you for asking because it's awesome for kids. Thank you for your work. Sorry, I just wanted
that's
to.
great. Any other questions?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading here.
We give you lots of information.
Are there any more questions? Like, this, is there any ever a chance we get these ahead of time? Because I mean, I like reading them, but it's like, then I'd have
We
some
did,
more
Bobby.
que-
They were in the packet.
I didn't
It's in
see
your-
this, I'm sorry. That's why I'm so intrigued
That's okay,
with
that's
it
why we
right
brought
now.
copies. There's a lot of information. You got a large packet for this agenda.
Thank you, thank you. Anybody else? All set? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Sally.
Thanks, Sally.
Thank you.
All right, and so we have our third one, which is the district improvement for our Wethersfield High School. Is this what it is? Our flagship school.
It's all you, right? You got it? We're just here for support.
Oh, I would have liked to have read this.
Yeah, you know, and I just, you know,
No, I know,
I
just-
just didn't click on it. I saw the strategic plan. I just missed it.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, print this. No, I know.
You want me to start? It's what it's like in a classroom when the technology doesn't work. How are you, everyone? You have a good night? Great. Yeah, we're all doing well.
Here's a topic. Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, right. Appreciate it. So thank you for having us all tonight. We very excited to come here tonight and share our school improvement efforts for Wethersfield High School. We really appreciate your time, and we know you had a lengthy agenda this evening, so we are going to practice our summarizing skills and try to be as succinct as we can. I know the SIPs have been previously sent to you, so you can read them in depth. But tonight I'm joined by 9 members of our school leadership team to really provide an overview of our major efforts here at Wethersfield High School. I'm Siobhan O'Connor, proud principal, and you're going to meet the rest of our team in a few minutes. Some of our people are not going to be here tonight just because we knew we did have a tight agenda, and so we're going to show off our collaboration in our efforts tonight. This graphic is something that we've shown you previously, but there's a slight adjustment that is truly meaningful for us. We obviously plan our school improvement efforts based on the strategic plan and our vision of the graduate skills, but we still strive for that center that we've talked about before, ensuring that all of our students, regardless of who they are when they come through our doors, that they have a safe and supportive environment to really excel at their academic and social emotional goals with our time here. The change this year is really the most important, and you're going to see those multiple pathways to get there. High schools are unique beings for lots of different reasons, other than it has 1,150 teenagers. But we have also a lot of different departments who have different focuses, different goals, and different needs. And so this year we really wanted to concentrate our efforts in ensuring that we had a differentiated approach to each of our departments. We really wanted to address that we had all of these departments' goals in mind by still getting to that collective center, that collective goal that we're all trying to achieve, which is a rigorous classroom environment where all students can excel. And that's always what, as Sally referenced, our North Star, that's where we're shooting for, okay, for every single one of our goals. But because we're all different, we all are going to get there in a different way, right? So our English department might be very different than our CTE department, but they're all doing work that is going to support those efforts. I would be remiss without really mentioning the efforts of our department liaisons in this work. I want to publicly thank them for their work, for those of them who are here tonight. Without their efforts and their willingness to partner with our building administrators and their fellow liaisons, we could not make our work this year possible. What they have done is that they have really taken on a brand new responsibility in helping craft those interdepartmental goals and department goals, and also creating supportive professional development plans to get their teachers what they need in order to achieve those department goals that they have set. And they do this despite teaching a full load, and so I want to recognize all of the time and effort that they really have taken. They teach all of their 5 classes, and they still serve as leaders within our building. And so without them and their work and their partnership, this really could not be possible. So we just all, as a building administrative team, really want to thank you for those efforts. So thank you for everything you do for us today and for still being here tonight. So we appreciate that. So what they're also doing is we're also modeling collaboration. And so rather than having singular departments, we're actually working as 4 different collaborative teams. So you're going to meet our humanities, one of our humanities teachers, an English department liaison soon. We have a humanities focus, we have a STEM focus, we also have a business, CTE, and fine arts department collaboration, as well as student support services. And so tonight what you're going to hear is not everything that we're doing at Wethersfield High School, but you're going to hear about those individual focuses that are really pulling it all together, rather than hearing all of the little
little bits and pieces that you can certainly read at your leisure. But this is really our driving work this year, is having that truly job-embedded professional development that is truly meaningful for each department and what they need in order to drive that collective goal forward. So without me talking anymore at you, I'm going to introduce you to Mrs. Stephanie McKenna, who is our English department liaison, who's going to talk about our humanities work.
And I love the little eagles on the car. They're so cute, aren't they? They're adorable. I love them. I love them. So I'm Stephanie McKenna. I'm an English teacher at the high school. I'm also the department liaison, and I am here to represent the humanities liaisons. Shane Munoz, who is a Spanish teacher, and he's the world language liaison, and Kim Nemec, who is a social studies teacher and the social studies department liaison. We meet together monthly with our supervisors, Christina Slayton and Tyler Webb, to discuss how we're meeting our goals and troubleshoot any concerns. And we have some great open and honest conversations about that. The three of us in the humanities, we work closely together to plan professional development focused on our department goals, ensuring that PD is timely, relevant, and helps teachers reach our goals of achievement. For world language, the goal is for teachers to have a better understanding on how to create summative assessments and be able to backwards plan for units after creating those assessments through multiple layers and modalities. So the world language department has been working closely together on creating assessments together for vertical articulation so that common classes have common assessments. And that's something that they've been working really hard on this year and continue to do. For the English department, our goal is to implement comprehensive and evidence-based literacy practices to strengthen comprehension of grade level texts. We are doing this by researching and exploring the science of reading research. We're doing some active research for that, and we've started that, and we're going to continue that throughout our PD throughout the school year. It's something that's really big at the elementary levels, not so much at the high school level. There's not a ton of research, so we're trying to find it and kind of build on it, and it's really exciting to see that there are things we can do at the high school level to continue with that. We are working on creating lessons that focus on instructional practices using the science of reading in the high school English classroom. And we're focusing on those best instructional practices. Social studies, they want to identify the inquiry skills and instructional best practices to engage in productive struggle, problem solve, persist through challenges, and respond to feedback. They're working through rigorous learning outcomes and strengthening the vision of the graduate competencies. They're doing a lot of work and research on best instructional practices for cognitive engagement, particularly as it pertains to inquiry. And something that's kind of fun in our world is that the social studies goal is very similar to the science department goals. So there's also overlap with that. So it's all coming together, but it's been a real joy working with the other humanities liaisons on this. And now I'm going to introduce you to Mr. Mike Miller.
Good evening again. I'm Michael Miller. I'm the math department liaison. You already heard a little bit from me before, so I'll be quick. So the STEM, we meet in our STEM department also, or we meet with Kim Troy and Stephanie Hassler and Christina Slayton. We meet also monthly. What the math department would like to do this particular year is engage in purposeful problem solving, develop conceptual understanding to engage in higher order math learning. And one thing that's unique about our department this year is that we are actually, in the entire department, we are trying to do the exact same goal. We all met with our evaluator, Mrs. Hassler, and we are all trying to do something different and try to be able to teach with a little bit of a different perspective. So we've all have about 200 years experience in our department, but we're trying to do something a little bit different and teach using the building thinking classrooms, and to try to, at least to introduce something to the students, or to at least have the students be a little bit more active in our classroom. And so that is what our main goal is for this year. And again, we talked a lot about with Agile Mind, and that's going to be a lot of our focus this year.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Troy. I'm the science department liaison and chemistry teacher, and I work closely with Mike this year and Mrs. Hassler, as he said, and Dr. Slayton as we plan sort of our plans for this year as we work as more of a STEM team. I really want to highlight tonight, and again, try to be as brief as I can, because I could spend a lot of time talking about the wonderful things that are going on at our school and in our department. But I want to highlight the improvement on the NGSS performance in the spring of 2024. This was really a collaborative effort from a team of science teachers that came together a few years ago and really strategized, thought about, what we know about our students and what they're able to do and how to really capture that data more accurately. So we did a lot to promote the test last year. We're trying to, do things to celebrate opportunities for kids in our community to demonstrate what they can do. And we also did some things, some incentives. We provided green honor cords, and atomic symbol pins to students scoring in the top 10%. And what we saw this past year with this was our graduating seniors, but what we saw with this past year's juniors taking the test is they were really excited about that as an opportunity, to earn that award. And what we saw was a more, equitable achievement for our students, and the 27 that were recognized. So that was really something that I want to, sort of share, because it's a huge highlight for us in the work that we've been doing around cognitive engagement and really building classrooms for students in science in which they can all learn at a high level. So we're really focused on that work this year. Our goals are very much centered around what our classrooms look like, what we're asking kids to do, and what we ourselves are doing. And I'm really excited about that work, but also the work we continue to do as a collaborative team. And then I also want to mention, just to piggyback on what Siobhan said about the work that we're doing as a leadership team and the value that's provided us as liaisons to provide meaningful PD for our respective departments. So we're seeing a lot of work across departments, but we're also seeing a lot of, what does your department need? Like, what can we do to support you and support your teachers? And that's really been something to build on. So I'm now going to introduce Mr. Palazzo to talk about CTE, Fine Arts, and PE.
Hello, I'm Chris Palazzo, the CTE Department Liaison. I'm also representing the Fine Arts and PE departments, so in case you're unsure of what all that means, it's representing computer science, business, tech ed, family consumer science, art, music, and physical education. I work closely with Mr. Bowles. He's the liaison for the Fine Arts and PE departments, and what we're really focusing on is identifying authentic ways to measure transferable vision of the graduate skills. So we're really looking to improve our students' ability to communicate, collaborate, and problem solve across both fine arts and the CTE departments. And as Kim said, we are really focusing in the CTE department with our PD. We're very lucky we have Mr. Mark Danaher. He's a career counselor who has a great network that we can pull from. So we were able to, in the previous PD that we just had, have something that we called a community roundtable, where we had 4 community members come join us and the school counselors, where we got to meet with them. Ms. Walters was there. It was great to hear different perspectives from different employers. Throughout the community, we had 2 members from the Hartford, 1 person was from the FedEx, and another was from a local bank, M&T Bank. So it was great really to hear perspective from the community stakeholders and how we can bring that to our students within the departments. And then fine arts are really focusing on using the template to help engage conversations, to really spark conversations around the arts. So when they're working with a piece of art, maybe like use, as you can see here, this template to spark the conversation of, like, for instance, how did you individually come through how did your individuality come through in the piece? And then it allows the conversation to be had with the students, they can bring it back home with their parents, have the conversation, talk to the teachers, and really provoke more conversation around their artwork. Then also the phys ed department, they're working very hard right now in redesigning their phys ed and health course structures, and they're really focusing it on healthy habits, healthy lifestyles, and they've been working really hard to improve that. Thank you. Now, Julie Friel.
So our special education department, we have a couple different collaborative teams that we're working on. So we do have our collaboration time where the 9 of us get together and we hold some case studies where maybe we bring up a multidisciplinary evaluation on a student, discuss the test scores, how are we interpreting them, kind of troubleshooting together, and also provide some of the veteran teachers a chance to share what's working or what's not working and mentor some of the younger teachers on our team. But then this year we're also breaking off with our content area counterparts. So if someone in our department is either teaching a self-contained math class or a co-taught math class, they are working with the math department and aligning with those goals. If a member of our team is working with the English department, if they're co-teaching an English class or teaching a self-contained reading class, they're aligning with the English department. For the teachers who are aligned with our life skills program, they're doing some vertical alignment with SDMS and WTA to focus on inclusion. And then we also have our 2 school psychologists who are part of our collaborative team as well. And they are working with targeted populations of groups to work on social thinking skills and also dialectical behavioral training, more commonly known as DBT. And they're really kind of coaching and instructing the students with the skills to help them transition after they graduate into the adult world. And now Cindy Bryan for school counseling.
Thank you, Mrs. Friel. It's very funny as I listen to the other presenters. I think about Mr. Miller saying about 200 years experience in his department. Like, I think that's me. I have 200 years experience. So what the school counselors are working on, we have actually, I'm going to say this out loud, and Angelica, close your ears. College admissions is easy. We know how to point kids in those directions. We know what to do. We know where the research is for that. So we are really looking and focusing on some of the non-traditional careers that are out there to help kids find those directions. Students will come to my office randomly saying, I think I want to be a lineman. I'm like, you want to work for Eversource? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know how to do that. So I would work with Mr. Danaher. So what we are doing as a department is taking the opportunity to use PD to travel to different schools that offer programs to help some of these kids and help us better guide the students in what careers are out there, helping them get a bigger picture. We are definitely starving for the trades in the United States, so we're looking at trying to focus on that. We have a bunch of community colleges that we're breaking down to see who has what niche program, who they might have connections with companies, what internships are available out there. Again, partnering with Mr. Danaher and really working to develop a resource guide for students that we can put on our website. So we'll have a place for them to actually say, hey, have you heard of this? This is kind of cool. Do you like to do things with your hands? Let's look at these careers so that we can actually guide the kids a little bit easier in a way to help them achieve their goals. Our goal is for the kids to make a happy, productive life. That is our goal. As long as they're out there working, having the lives that they want to have, we don't care if they go to college, go to a trade school, whatever they want, it's what they want. So that's where our focus is for the school counselors, and we're also working closely with our school social workers who are doing an amazing job working with students and their families and helping them understand social emotional wellness. We have our wellness center, which I think you're all familiar with, and they really support the students that come to the wellness center and also working with the teachers to help make sure the kids get back to class, because the kids can't learn if they're not in class. So what we are trying to do and what the social workers are trying to do is develop resilience with the students, to have them understand that there's definitely a reality with mental health, there's definitely concerns around mental health, but then how do we partner with the students and their families to help the kids navigate the difficulties of life and get them back into the classroom so that they can be learners to achieve their goals. So again, thank you very much for your time this evening, and I will introduce Mr. Webb.
All right, hi everyone. So myself and my 2 fellow members of the WHS administrative team are going to talk to you a little bit about the culture and climate team. The culture and climate team is made up of 3 separate groups that meet independently, but then monthly we also all meet together to sort of catch each other up on what it is that we're doing. So there's the equity team, the instructional equity team, and the restorative team. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the equity team. The equity team began 5 years ago in the summer of 2020. We've done, made a number of different efforts, really ultimately to educate and empower both students and staff on issues of equity. And we're continuing that work. This year we actually are putting together a program that is in sort of the nascent stages, but an actual workshop seminar for our entire school during a school day that's going to be participatory of all teachers and all students. We'll be doing that a day in February to celebrate and promote diversity, culture within not only the community here, but then also historically within our country. Additionally, we continue to support our students, and you know, we have a form that is on our website for students if there are any like acts of injustice or any concerns relative to race, gender, really ultimately any issue of inequity. We have efforts this year, again, much like if many of you have been to Highcrest or to some of the other elementary schools where they have the welcome in all of the different languages, we're going to take that upon trying to get that within our front entryway as well, because really that is something that you see when you come to Wethersfield High School is the number of different students speaking all the different languages. As all the elementary schools come together, everybody is there. So we make every effort to make every student as comfortable and supported and understand that they are seen and accepted for who they are here at Wethersfield High School, and that's ultimately what we're charged with. So I'm going to now hand it off to Mrs. Hassler, who's going to talk about the instructional equity team.
Hi again, everyone. So I'm very lucky to be a member of the Instructional Equity Team. That's one of the subcommittees on the Climate and Culture team. Kim Troy actually had organized this Instructional Equity Team long before I even started over at Wethersfield High School. In the past, we've done professional learning for teachers regarding instructional strategies and different things they can do in their classroom to meet the needs of their students. This year, our big focus is to continue highlighting all of the effective instructional practices and showcasing academic achievement over at Wethersfield High School. So in the past, we've highlighted a lot of sports, a lot of music. We want to also start to highlight things that are happening within classrooms so that the community knows, that students know, that parents know what's going on, all these great things that we just shared with you today. One way we're doing that is we're using an instructional spotlight, student spotlight, and teachers can nominate students and the work they're doing in the classroom, and then that's highlighted within Blue Eagle News. So that's one of the things we're doing this year to help highlight academic achievement over at Wethersfield High School. I'm going to introduce Siobhan O'Connor again.
Start with me, you end with me. So our last thing that we want to talk about is the work that we're doing with our restorative team. Our restorative team really has two charges. The first is really morale within the building. And so we take it upon ourselves to make sure that we have fun while we actually do some really hard jobs. And so our team, we're a little bit of a social team, and we make sure that we have at least one quarterly event for our staff. And so we had a little get together at a local establishment for our first quarter. We have our holiday party. I think we might have an annual event in February, our cornhole tournament. It was very highly successful. But the other thing that we do that is very meaningful is to continue the work around restorative practices and trauma-informed instruction. And we were very, very lucky to be selected as one of the participating schools in the state of Connecticut for a new study coming out of the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. We will start partnering with them this year as part of their study on emotional wellness for not only students, but staff. And so the work that we're going to do over the next 2 years is participating in some data sharing, which will start the process and will also end with us being able to implement their brand new 9 through 12 social emotional ruler program that has just been developed specifically for and by people who taught high schoolers. Social emotional learning is a very, very difficult topic for students in high school because, number one, they're teenagers and they might think they know everything, but sometimes they're a little hesitant around social emotional learning. And it was really great for the program that Yale is having because it is a former high school teacher and former high school psychologist who has developed this program. And so as being a part of this study, they give us that professional development and training, but their model is to focus on adults first. High school teachers aren't always known for their social emotional capacities sometimes. And so one of the things that they work on is getting us as adults to be very cognizant of our social emotional well-being and how that is contributing to our school environment. And so we're very excited about being able to launch this study, which will be coming out shortly. But that's kind of the work that we're doing in the restorative team. And we just really hope you enjoyed our hopefully succinct presentation after 4 presentations tonight. But this is kind of the major efforts that are going on here at Wethersfield High School. So we're open to any questions that you might have.
James?
I just want to say that compared to my experience in high school and my own children's, which is like 15 years in the past approximately, it just really sounds like you're doing some real heavy lifting to do some really transformative work. And it sounds amazing. I appreciate it a lot. That's great.
There's a lot of great people at Wethersfield High School doing the work.
Well, I have a question for you on, or not actually a question, if you could come back and comment on the quarterly staff events through this Yale program. I would love to know what you would do for those events.
Well, you can come on down during a very short portion of the professional development day in February. But we do hard things, right? So we started our year with it's silly, it sounds silly, but adults are kids, really. We just have bigger bodies and we still like to, compete. So we might have had a champion of our boat building competition that we kicked off our year with. Our staff actually, we make them do things together. Yes, so Ms. Bryan and her team, in all honesty, we start off with a fun activity that we have for kids, right? So they started off the school year being forced into collaborative teams that they did not know in advance, and they had to build a boat and see how many little weight glass beads that their boat could handle. And there may have been prizes involved, which does up the level of competition. But those are the things that bring you together when you're not just talking about the curriculum, or you're not just talking about it. That's heavy lifting. We know we have to do that, but we also know that we have a really serious job that requires a lot of our emotional capacity. And if we can't have fun together and laugh and do those things that really bring people together, then we're not going to be successful. So that's one of the things, a small little thing that we did that really, help. We also do, monthly breakfasts. Coffee is freely flowing at Wethersfield High School. Those are small things that we can do as a restorative team and as a building administrative team that just says thank you to the staff for the work that they do, because the landscape of education has changed, and it's I can't imagine if you told me 20 years ago what I would be doing as an educator, what I'm doing today. I couldn't have imagined it. It has dynamically changed in 20 years. But if we don't kind of feed our collective soul and ensure that we can work together by doing those kind of little things that are very serious, and I know you won. But if we can't do that, and if we can't laugh, then our jobs are that much harder. And so, we really felt like it's an important thing to ensure that we feel okay about the work we do.
I love everything you just said, and I love the laughter coming from there too. That must be an enjoyable bonding experience, because as education changes and it evolves and it changes again, it's still a people business. That's what it's all about. And if you guys are right up there on the top of your game, the school will be too. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else for
I do.
this? I love this.
I just want congratulations on being selected, to participate in the Yale study. I mean, that's huge. And so congratulations.
Our statistics teachers are super excited about real world application.
Excellent. And at some point in the future, I'm hoping to hear a little bit more about that as you go through. But just congratulations, excuse me, on that. And I also wanted to note something that Cindy had shared. You're building, I usually call them, I think it was a resource guide, for the kids. I just think that's so important. And it was music to my ears to hear you say resilience and kind of helping kids, regardless of where they are, where they're coming from. But how do they get that next step forward? How do they continue to, go on that path rather than just kind of being stuck and not really knowing how to take that next step, even though it's scary, and what can we do to support that? So I'd love to continue hearing about that as well.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, I'll wait till he puts that up, and then we can continue with our meetings held.
You never know.
really interesting. Also, super literacy. I take Master Ed and essentially what it was, it's like we had a test and it was on 4 components. It was like speaking.
Okay, so student program and services was held on 10/15, and our chair is Janice. Do you want to comment on all that work?
Well, I think we've said enough about it, but I'll say a little more. This very long list of courses that we approved this evening are the curriculi of courses that for the most part were approved by the Board of Education last year. This is the content, so tonight we're just approving that. These courses align with our district goals of empathy, achievement, and equity, seeking to meet all students where they are and provide them with pathways to success in SATs and all post-secondary options. They are also reflective of our district improvement plan, I noticed. Following our vision of a graduate, these courses will provide opportunities for all students to become communicators, problem solvers, and collaborators. In the case of the 7 to 12 Agile Mind math curriculum and textbook, the Spanish 1, and ESL 1 and 2, the very important work of aligning instruction between Silas, Deane Middle School and Wethersfield High School is sought to be accomplished. As always, we are grateful for the time, efforts, and talents that so many of our grades 7 to 12 faculty, as well as curriculum directors and Assistant Superintendent Sally Distoli, contributed, which this body of work reflects so stunningly. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Okay, I'm going to comment on the CREC Council, which met on Wednesday, October 16th. And the CREC Council is the Capital Region Education Council, of which Wethersfield is a member, along with 35 other surrounding towns. And they are responsible for the regional magnet schools, Project Choice, and Hartford Head Start. I will abbreviate my notes here, abbreviate them. First on our agenda was the recognition of the Academy of Science and Innovation baseball team for their sportsmanship award. The team members were there and they spoke of their love and dedication to being part of this team and their pride in winning this award. We also heard a report from the CREC Resource Group. We talked about and heard the many focuses of the family engagement. Next presentation will be on CREC's Diagnostic Center. They spoke of the foundation, CREC's foundation, which provides student scholarships. And Dr. Greg Florio, who is the executive director of CREC, spoke of lobbying early with the state legislators for this year's session for budget needs and to discuss with the legislators the selection of a new chair of education from our General Assembly. We did our consent agreement and also a reminder that there's an upcoming election and also the CAP and CABE convention in November. Any information on CREC and their many schools and services can be found on their website. Thank you. And then we have finance and operations, which we just met. Matt?
Yep, that committee met prior to our board meeting tonight. It was a brief meeting. Not much has changed month over month. We went over our current year's budget. We discussed where we're at in that budget at the moment. Slightly under budget at $63,000, but there's a lot of movement to come throughout the school year. Most of the discussion that we had revolved around the cost of outplacements. Whenever we hear that there's a possibility of some of our students being outplaced that could come back to in-district, our ears perk up, not only because we like to keep them around, those are our students, we like to be the ones educating them and having them in our buildings, but also because the cost of outplacements are so high. Anytime we can keep a student in district, it's always, it could be a significant net gain for us budget-wise, so that's what we talked about tonight.
Thank you. All right, and we do have a meeting scheduled. We have a special Board of Education meeting tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Facilities and Maintenance Committee on 10/28 at 6 o'clock. Policy and Planning Committee, 10:30 at 6 o'clock. Human Resource and Personnel Committee, November 5th at 6 o'clock. And another Student Program and Services on November 18th at 6 o'clock. So is there anyone wishing to make a public comment? Please come on up to the podium. State your name and address, and may I remind you that you have 5 minutes. Okay, are there any board comments?
Yeah, I wanted to report on the SDMS PAC meeting that I attended yesterday. TSKP stopped by to get feedback from the families, so I just wanted to report that they are stopping at all the parent groups. The 7th grade dance is on Friday. Parents and teachers are chaperoning to provide the 7th graders an opportunity to socialize after school, and the 8th grade dance is on Friday, December 6th. I can't lie that I'm happy I'm not chaperoning this year, as I chaperoned every single dance in the middle school. I'll stick to chaperoning my prom.
You're famous.
Sports in the middle school is a common topic that is brought up by families. Intramurals and some activities are not attended by students, and so they're trying to make it more interactive and engaging and competitive. In order to provide middle school sports, it's going to be costly, yes, and also who's going to coach that. Some parents who attended, there was about 10 parents, wanted the opportunity for students to have a middle school experience so that they're more athletically ready to be at the high school. And so it's a discussion that I don't want to shy away from, so I want to kind of bring it up, but it's to be continued. The drama program has 100 students participating. This is awesome news. And there seems to be more parent involvement with, like I said, 10 parents. So I urge parents to attend the respective school parent groups and not just bring concerns, but also solutions to the table. You know, there's a lot of times that parents want certain things, and as a community, they have to show up and work with parents, with teachers and administrators to provide those solutions too. We don't know unless you show up to the table.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else for closing comments?
Okay, a few words about the Cove Carnival. Bobby and I and many other people volunteered for it for a few hours just to help out, and just to give another shout out to the Keane Foundation for just such an amazing event that our town doesn't even remember when they didn't have it. Like, I can't even remember. And all the kids love it. I see college students coming back to go, for the weekend to come to see, to go to the Cove Carnival. So great event for the community, and it just gives so much back because of the money it raises for our school programs after school. So thank you, Keane Foundation.
Thank you. Yep. Okay, I was just going to make a comment about that anyone 18 and over, we want you out there voting. We have early voting has started, and as a matter of fact, for Wethersfield, it's right here in this room. And parents out there, it's a wonderful way to teach your children about our democracy, is to take them with you. As a parent, you're the role model for our future citizens. Show them the importance of voting. And this early voting goes on right up until Tuesday, November 5th, which is Election Day. So please get out and vote. Thank you. And Angelica, would you like to tell us what's going on at that high school?
Sure. So this week we have, thank you, the Spirit Week, which is like, we have different days of when students can have like dress up days, like tomorrow's Barbie, wear pink day. And on Friday, we're going to end off with a pep rally, as well as the football game. And this football game is really special because it's the senior night for the football team, as well as the cheer team and the dance team. This past Sunday, there was the Mikey's 5K run and like walk. I know some students like participated in that or like helped out at that. For some of our honor societies, I believe it's next Wednesday, we have our language honor society inductions, and this is including like the French honor society, and I believe we also have the English honor society, which is like running again. And then for Blue Eagle News, for this month, I believe I mentioned it, but we kind of like, we are calling it Boo Eagle News for like Halloween and whatnot. And we're going to have our like last Friday episode for this like Spooktober series for this month. And it's going to be like a teacher switcheroo. And yeah, that's pretty much everything happening at the high school.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much. Is there any unfinished business we have tonight? All right, so at this time, I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the superintendent's goal. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? So that concludes our regular meeting. Thank you all for joining us tonight. See you at our next Board of Ed meeting.